Contaminated drinking water kills countless children every day. You can help stop death. Visit lifetoday.org/water for life to give clean drinking water today.
I just want to do God's will.
The kind of revolution that the world needs is a Christian revolution.
If you want a miracle, you've got to expect it to happen.
You are the recipients of God's grace and God's blessings, and you rejoice in that reality.
Welcome to Life Today Live. I am Randy Robinson, and we're going to talk about marriage. And I don't know where you're at. Maybe you've been married a long time like I have, and you know it can always, get better. Not that it's bad, but we can always be better at this. Maybe you are interested in getting married, and you want to learn some things ahead of time that'll help you avoid some mistakes, or maybe it's not so good, and you really need some help. Regardless of where you're at, marriage is always a good topic to discuss. It's like self-improvement with another person in the room. There's always room to do a little better. So I've got a couple of guests today that are going to help you out, offer you some insight. Dave and Ann Wilson were a longtime pastoral couple up at Kensington Community Church, the church they founded up in the Detroit area. And Dave was actually the chaplain for the Detroit Lions for 33 disappointing seasons. Sorry. But they are now currently hosting Family Life Today radio and podcast. And Ann has a new book I want to show you. It is called How to Speak Life to Your Husband When All You Want to Do Is Yell at Him. And ladies, I know you can relate to that. And guys, you probably can too. So we're going to dive into this. Appreciate you guys being here. This is an opportunity for you to grow yourself personally and in your marriage, and we should always take those opportunities. Dave and Ann, welcome to Life Today Live. Great to see you.
It's great to be here, although you didn't have to bring up the Lions losing seasons right off the bat.
That was pretty funny. We're so glad to be with you.
But they're winning now. I'm not there.
They're one of those teams that I kind of pull for late in the season. Like, come on, I looked it up. They've been around for a long time. One of the oldest franchises. Not only have they not won a Super Bowl, haven't been in the Super Bowl. That's what the internet told me. But
no, we haven't. When I was there, we were one game away.
Yeah.
I'm the losingest chaplain in the history of the NFL.
Well, that also makes you the most needed chaplain in all of football. So
God was doing things underneath the surface.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about that today, but I'm not kidding. One season we saw 27 guys get baptized.
Man,
that was pretty amazing.
That is awesome. And frankly, I'm just thrilled that pro teams, still have chaplains, because we all need a little help sometimes when you're in an intense environment like an athletic. The team, the performance, it's everything. It's life. And sometimes you got to go, you know what, there's more to life than sports. And that can be hard for me. Anyway.
Yeah.
So marriage, let's change the topics here because I could talk about football all day, right? Marriage. How did you guys get to become like the marriage couple?
It's interesting. We became the marriage couple because our marriage almost ended.
Because of failure, that's why. Yeah. Maybe that can give some people hope.
I mean, at year 10, we're on year 45 now, but at year 10, Ann said, I've lost my feelings for you. We were starting this church, and the church grew pretty quickly. I was obsessed with ministry, doing a lot of good things, the Detroit Lions and then this church, and I was avoiding our marriage. And again, that we wrote a book about that called Vertical Marriage, which was sort of God saved it. And that's what vertical means. When you find life through Christ, not through your marriage or through your spouse, he can do a lot of great things. And so out of that pain and out of that struggle, which when it happened, we sort of thought we won't tell anybody, it's sort of like, that's our private little,
it's embarrassing.
It was.
Yeah.
But as we started to share that story, so many people connected to the pain of it. I think that's where real ministry begins.
Yeah.
People connect to your pain, and then you see the victory that Jesus can bring right in the middle of the mess. It ended up launching a marriage ministry we've been involved in over 40 years.
Yeah, we started speaking for Family Life after that, and And honestly, this new book comes out of pain too. It's really out of our failures.
Mm.
And sometimes we try to hide those, but man, if other people can learn from what we've messed up, that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we're at a point where we can say, look, a lot of marriages die, even with Christians, even with church leaders, because like you say, the shame and the embarrassment, we don't want to talk about it, but we have to because again, marriages are dying. Now you talk about speaking life, Anne. What exactly does that mean?
Well, it's interesting because if you would have asked me in our first 15 years of marriage if I spoke life, like, of course, of course I am. But Dave and I ended up being asked to speak to a group of women at our church, young moms. And I asked Dave to do it with me. They asked me, and I'm like, Dave, you should do it. They'd love it. You're the pastor. So we get up there to speak, and Dave just starts going off on some stuff I had never heard him share before. And he basically says, women, I don't know if you get what it's like for us to be men. Because usually one of us have had a dad or someone or a mom that is saying, good job. They're seeing us and cheering for us. We get older and we find out what we're good at or what we're passionate about. And we have people that are cheering us on. He said, I was a college football quarterback. And so I had people cheering for me. And I had never heard him share any of this, Randy. This is all new information for me. And then he says, and then I basically meet Anne, and she says, of all the men in the world, I marry and choose you, Dave Wilson, because you're the man, and she's cheering for me. And I'm thinking, yeah, this is good. I like this. But then it shifts, and he goes, but then we get married, and we walk in the door, and all it seems like we hear is boo, boo. And I'm sitting back here like, what just happened? What was that? He'd never said anything like this in our lives. And so we get in the car. I'm like, what just happened? What was that?
It was a long ride home. Tell you that.
And I said, you think I'm booing you? I am helping you because
Yeah.
I see all the things that need to be shifted and changed, and I'm helping you get better. And he goes, is it helping? I'm like, no. That's why I have to do it more often and say it more loudly. And that is pretty much what started our journey.
Okay, so Dave, have you ever had like a weekend where you had these things to do, and you're knocking it out? I mean, you're killing it. You're taking care of all these things, and you finish, and you're hot, and you're sweaty. Maybe not as much in Detroit as down here in Texas, but I mean, we come in. I'm 5 pounds lighter because I just sweated it all off. And I'm like, man, I am now. And the first thing she says is, "Did you do this?" It's like,
Yep.
yeah, because you're like, oh, okay, it's like, can you not acknowledge all the great things I've done? And that is, I don't know if women realize it because they think they're help honestly, but man, that's deflating.
Yeah, I mean, I think, even in our situation, I think Anne felt like when she critiqued or, said just what you said, hey, you didn't do this or you didn't. I think she thought it would motivate me.
Right.
I can get it done. I'm going to step up. Yeah, you're right, honey. I'll go right back out now, even though I'm dying of sweat and just got some iced tea. But you know what? I didn't do one little. I think she thought it motivated, and I think wives think that. And I don't think most men are motivated by critique. They're motivated by affirmation.
Hmm.
And again, it makes no sense. It's like, why would I affirm a guy who hasn't done what I asked him to do?
Right. Right.
I'm just telling you, when you see something he has done right, or you see greatness in him and you call that out, or you speak life instead of, it motivates men. And I'm sure it motivates women too. There's something that works. And there are times, obviously, where I am motivated by, yeah, I got to step up. But if all you're hearing, is boo or critique, it's demotivating. But if you hear some affirmation and then they speak a harder truth, you can hear both.
But here's what we think as women. We think, well, he's got all these other people telling him is great.
Yeah.
He's got people at work. Oh, Dave, you're amazing. I'm like, I see everything. And I don't need to do that because everybody else is, not realizing that my words are more powerful and needed more than anybody else's. I had no idea.
Oh yeah.
'Cause I thought Dave has enough of a self-esteem that he doesn't need me cheering for him. And oh, yes, he does. I had no idea. And I also, another reason I didn't say it is because I thought, well, I mean, this is just selfish and prideful on my part. Like, well, nobody cheers for me. I'm doing everything around here. And who's telling me good job? So that's that prideful arrogance that I had. And I also, the other thing was, I thought if I tell Dave he's doing great, he'll think I'm satisfied and then he won't get any better, which is so messed up in the thinking, but I think that's kind of where we are as women at times.
Well, yeah, and it also goes to the point that men, we need to affirm our wives as well.
Yes.
So it is definitely a two-way street. Do you still want to yell at him, Ann, ever?
Of course. Who doesn't? I mean, I have gone on this journey through my failures because I came home from that speaking engagement and I got before God and vented to God, which is okay to do, telling him, like, Lord, can you believe that? But then at the end, I asked God this question, God, do I? Do I boo Dave? And I felt like I felt like this conviction, not shame, but conviction. And I felt like God was saying, pay attention to what you think about him and then start paying attention to not only your words to Dave, but to your sons as well. And man, it was right along that same path of thinking I'm helping and motivating by pointing out the things they're doing wrong. And so that really, the book is a journey through God shaping me. Do I still want to yell at him? Doesn't everybody in marriage want to do that at times? And the difference is I would tell Dave, he's probably way nicer than I am because he never said those kind of negative things to me.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
You know-
never strong word.
Well,
Yeah.
I get your point. The difficulty, I think, is usually by the time we're willing, or by the time it comes out, to talk about things like, you missed all the great things I did. Why do you harp on the way we get the nagging wife kind of thoughts
Yeah.
in our heads,
yeah.
and we got to put those aside. But we don't deal with these things until they boil over.
Yes.
How do we learn to, in a proper way, calmly? Because man, to tell my wife, look, sometimes all I feel like you do is criticize me. I know that's not probably going to go well, and if I say it when I'm a little irritated, it's just done. How do we talk about our feelings in a speaking life healthy kind of way?
Well, one of the things I say in the book is to ask your spouse, do you feel like I cheer for you? Just honestly ask that. And for the spouse, to be careful, he might need to take a few minutes to pray, like, Lord, help me to say this. But one of the things Dave told me, which was sobering, was he said, I feel like you love me, and I just don't feel like you like me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of true sometimes, actually, because here's my misguided thinking. I thought if he would just get his act together, he could make me so happy and we could be so great. And it's not Dave's job to make me happy. That's Jesus's job. My fulfillment comes through him. But as soon as I take my eyes off of Jesus, I'm looking to Dave to fill my needs. And so my prayer became as simple as this: God, I obviously, after paying attention to my thoughts and my words, it's not good. My thoughts are generally negative. And they've done so much brain science now that they know that we create neurological pathways in our brain of negative even kind of thinking. So I started noticing all the things he was doing wrong, and I would point those out. And I had to go on this new journey of, God, show me the greatness. And Dave became my prayer. Show me the greatness. And God started showing me good things. And so that was one of the things I had to start doing, is I had to start simply, because I'm like, I'm not going to fake it. I'm not going to fake that I'm totally happy now and satisfied, but I can start by saying thank you. And so that's one of the ways I started the journey.
Yeah, it's amazing how simple that is and how effective that is, because that is absolutely true.
Do you think that's effective?
It's just saying thank you.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah, because
Really?
it sets the tone. Here's the thing. Just to take the example of getting things done, 9 out of 10 things done. If
Right.
the first thing I hear is the 10th thing, I'm immediately in a bad frame of mind, and it takes effort on my part to get out of it. But
Yeah.
with the thank you, the yard looks good, that kind of thing. And maybe, I don't know, maybe we're just that pathetic, but it's like, okay, you feel good. And then you can even say, did you get to everything, or are you going to be able to do this? It just, the whole tenor
Yeah.
is different. And sometimes it's just that simple. We are that simple. You know that, right, Ian? we're pretty basic.
I know one time, I had heard it feels like for years, I'm probably exaggerating, but it felt like I had heard for years that she wanted me to lead the family spiritually different than I was.
It was years, like 15 years, I would
It might have been. And then when your wife throws in, Steve does it this
Oh,
way,
geez.
then it's like a double whammy. Like, okay. And most guys do what I do. I'm like, okay, go over to Steve's house and let him
Right.
for our kids. But one night I was walking out of the boys' bedroom. We had three sons. They're all married now with we have grandkids, but they were maybe middle school. Maybe I think they were younger than that.
yeah, probably elementary.
And she's sitting in the hallway. And we're in the same house, so I can look right over there. I can tell you where I was standing, Randy, when she said this. And all she said was something like, "Man, you have such a gift with the boys.
Mm,
Hang on every word. You're praying with them and doing a little devo. They run around. They don't even listen to me. But man, your power, that was amazing." And I walked down the stairs, and all I remember thinking is, What'd she just say? I did something good. And the next night, she never said a word. I'm running up the stairs to jump in the bed with the guys and say, "Hey guys, let's pray." I was like, she did not do that to manipulate me to be a better.
No, it's my prayer. God, show me the greatness and the things Dave is doing right.
yeah.
That affirmation motivates a man.
Yeah, it does.
And I was again, it wasn't what her a desire. She just called out something good in me, and it changed our whole future with our boys.
Yeah, everything changed as that started, which I didn't even think it would do anything. I had no idea the power that my words would bring to Dave and the life it would bring to him and our sons, because we have three sons. It was mind blowing to me of the effect of positive words versus negative, because my negativity, nobody really wanted to be around me. Who would? And nobody wants to be around that in a way.
No, and I don't. Maybe it's just me, and it's taken. I still fight this one. Okay, to be honest with you, but if there's something I want to do, I want to get done, or maybe just a pattern like you talk about, praying with your children or something. So there's part of me that if I'm told to do it, and now I don't want to do it, even though I want to do it.
Yeah.
Right. But so what you're saying, and it's really, it could be manipulation, but I think the difference between manipulation is when it's for personal gain as opposed to affirmation, which is a godly thing.
Yeah.
And it moves oftentimes in the same direction. But when I can do something that I want to do and it pleases my wife, party bonus. Why wouldn't I? But there's a part of us, and this is, there's no excuse for it. But there's a part of us that is like, no, if I'm just doing this so you can check it off of your list and so you don't resent me as much. There's just, I don't know. I can easily fall into that bad headspace, and you have to catch yourself, take every thought
Taking your thoughts captive.
There you go, right? And get out of that. And I think that's a lot of what you're saying here is just, let me say this. In a lot of when I talk to marriage people, counselors and things, they'll all tell you that when a couple comes in with problems, they're immediately focused on the other.
Yes.
And it's like, thank you for sitting down with this counselor. Now, can you fix the other person, please?
Yep.
And they always go back to, we're going to talk about you first. And a lot of what I hear you guys saying is the starting with, I'm going to start with me first before God, and then we'll talk about this, which is the vertical, right?
And it's Matthew. It's I'm trying to get the speck out of Dave's eye when I have a log in my own eye.
Yeah.
And honestly, when I pulled out the mirror and asked this question, what must it be like to be married to me? Whew. I just sat there and thought, what would I be like if I was constantly like, hey, you should do this and don't forget this, and why aren't you doing this? That's super demotivating. And I didn't realize that Dave and there's insecurity for him. He's feeling like, I don't know how to do this. When we're saying men are supposed to lead and lead spiritually, he comes from a family. His dad was abusive and left when he was 7. So it's like I need to give him some grace in myself as well, but my expectations were way out of whack. And I think that that's important for us to kind of go before God and say, God, what's in me and what's it like to be married to me? Maybe ask your husband that. What's it like to be married to me?
In many ways, what you said, Randy, a marriage will get better if I look in the mirror and say, the problem in this marriage is me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's humility to say, okay, I know she's got issues. I've got issues, and I can't change her. I can change me. So, God, would you work on me? That kind of perspective is going to take a marriage to a different place. When you get your eyes off of them and get your eyes vertical and say, okay, God, it's you and me. Change me.
Yeah.
I got to
Yeah.
become a better man, a better husband, a better dad. And if that happens, I think it's going to motivate the other one to be drawn to you and also want to change as well.
And honestly, when I put a mirror to my face, my pride and arrogance was ridiculous. Because I thought, I'm doing things so much better than Dave. Or why would I thank him? Nobody thanks me, and I do everything around here. You
Mm-hmm.
see that pridefulness?
Mm-hmm.
And what's Jesus' attitude? Oh, I'm going to lay down my life. So I think we're so boundary driven right now, which is good to put boundaries. But when it comes to a good-willed spouse, we're talking about a good-willed husband who's not abusive,
Right.
who's not hurting you in any way. If that's the case, you need to get safe and get out.
Yeah.
We're
Get out.
talking
Yeah.
about just good-willed people trying to do their best.
Yeah. You do also bring up an important thing, Ann, and that if we had to carry our emotional baggage down the aisle at our wedding ceremony, there'd be a lot fewer wedding ceremonies, I think, because we all bring stuff.
Out there.
Do what?
It'd be a U-Haul truck with all the luggage we're carrying in.
Yeah, and we don't even realize. I didn't realize it, but we don't look at that. But I mean, a lot of times you really do have to go back to the stuff that you drag into the marriage in order to deal with it, and that can be difficult. How do we do that in a speaking life kind of way? Because
Yeah.
that can go negative fast.
I mean, what I had to do is just kind of ask God. And I think most couples have an area of conflict that continues to come back. It just keeps selling.
Mm-hmm.
If that's coming up, the same issue, it feels to me like God's giving in this warning light saying, I want to heal this. I want you to deal with this. I want you to look at this. And that was true for me. I think the reason, I mean, I have a very perfectionistic background and parents who are great, but I wanted Dave to be perfect. I wanted us to be perfect. I wanted him to be like me in terms of some of the things I was doing, which would have been a catastrophe. But it's just part of that going back into the past. Sometimes you need a counselor for that, which we've done. And I think for the last probably 5 years, I've been looking at a lot, thinking, oh, I was the youngest of four. Nobody ever saw me, noticed me, helped me do anything. So now I'm putting all those expectations on Dave. Like, you need to fill the gaps from my childhood. He
Yeah.
can't fill those. That's Jesus' job.
Yeah.
And, in our marriage, I'm doing the exact same thing because,
Sure.
you heard a little bit of my story. So I'm trying to show that I'm good and, as a pastor or whatever. And so out there, away from home, people are saying, hey, you're doing a good job. I come home, she's trying to change me and critique me. Like, see you later. I'm going to go back here. Because over here, these people think I'm good. And I think every man does that. We run to affirmation. By the way,
Women
every
do too.
woman does it too. We all do it.
Yeah, we do.
So, and as she shifted that whole thing, and again, it didn't happen in a week or a month or probably even a year, but over a journey, the home became the place I got the most affirmation. So, guess what? Your man's running home.
Mm.
Wife is running home because that's where they feel seen and heard and loved and affirmed, and that's a powerful tool. And I think that's what God has given wives. You have power. That's amazing that God has given you to use it for good or for bad.
Well, yeah, and nothing worse than not wanting to go to your own home. And if that's the case, you really need to turn things around in your home because it should be that place of life. And that's what Ann and Dave are talking about. This is the book, by the way, Ann Wilson's How to Speak Life to Your Husband When All You Want to Do Is Yell at Him. And man, for the home to be that place, it's misery when it's not. And there's nobody wants to be miserable. I do have a tough question for both of you, or either one of you, which is there are legitimate cases, and I don't necessarily mean abuse, like you said. If it's abusive, get out, get help. But there are legitimate changes that need to happen in our spouse as well as in ourselves. But for a lot of people, they don't know how to, and really it's beyond their control ultimately, but they desperately need a change in their spouse. Um, what do you say to someone who is they've worked on themselves, they've gotten before God, but it's not going to be a place of life in the home until that spouse changes, because that's a desperate situation for people.
Man, I've talked to so many women over the years that are right there. They feel desperate, lost, unseen. They feel so lonely. But I've also noticed the ones that are really locked in with Jesus, with the great church, with the community. There's a piece of contentment in them that's there regardless of their situation, and that's pretty remarkable because all of us want to have better relationships. I think the women that are obsessed with changing their spouse, can I just tell you that you don't have the power to change them? I've tried it for years and I don't. But what I have seen is that our words can bring so much motivation to our guys. And I know I've had women say, when I say, I want you to start praying, show me the greatness in your man, in my man. I've had women say, you don't understand. There is nothing. There is nothing to cheer about, honestly. And what my response is, well, there is a God who they're made in God's image, who loves them, sees them, and is cheering for them. Regardless of their performance, God died for all of us. And so what I would do is say, God, I don't see it, but you married him because you saw something. And your prayer is like, God, show me that something that you see. Because God's cheering all of us on all
Yeah,
the time.
yeah.
And so that really helped me. One of the things my friend did, who is, she's not great with her words. So she would text her husband. They were in a bad spot. He was traveling, always gone, little kids, job busy. She was complaining all the time. And she said, I'm not as good with my words as you are, but I can text him. And she started writing in a journal the things that he was doing right. Simple things like, hey, thanks for putting up the Christmas lights outside in Michigan in the winter.
Yeah.
I know you hate it every year, but you do it for us. Thank you. I noticed that. So he's being seen. Hey, I know you couldn't make it to the whole soccer game for the girls, but when you walked into the stadium and our daughter saw you, her entire countenance changed and lifted up. That's the power you carry. On his birthday, she gave him this journal and he sat in the chair and he cried the entire time he read it. There was just 3 or 4 entries a week that were simple and short. And it's Dave's best friend. And we said, Rob, what made you cry? And he said, I feel like I'm constantly failing. I feel like I'm not a great dad. I feel like I don't have what it takes to be a great husband. And so for Michelle to see good things, I want to be the best man in the world. I want to be far above the things that she's saying because she sees me as way better than I think I am. But do you see that motivation for the guy who's doing nothing? Maybe we're the first ones that can spark a little life. And you can't do it apart from Christ. You need the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, I was literally thinking, I'm a preacher, so I had 3 P's just come to my mind. I'm like, we should have put this in the book. If you want, I mean, if you're in a place where it's really, really hard right now, I think you got to realize you got to have the power of God. You
Yeah.
can't do it without the Holy Spirit power of Jesus resurrected
Yeah.
in you to do it. You need people of
Mhm.
God in your life. You can't do this alone. You
Girlfriends
need,
that are encouraging you.
yeah, you need other
Yeah.
women, you need other men, you need couples. You cannot do this alone. And maybe you need a counselor, a great
Yeah.
Christian therapist that helped us, that can help you. And then the last one I thought of is you need practices
Mm.
you do every day or every week. And so start small. Just say, I'm going to try and speak life. I'm
Yeah.
going to see something good in my man or my woman. I'm going to speak it out. I'm going to ask God to change me. I'm going to hold the negatives. And then, if you're speaking life,
Just
and that's
saying
a
thank
regular,
you.
regular thing, then you have to speak a hard truth.
Yeah.
They're going to be able to receive it better because there are times you got to say to
Right.
him something he needs to hear that's not easy. And you can say that if you've been depositing powerful things rather than just boo all the time and he's here and cheer, those words will change him.
So good. So true. All right. I'm going to leave everybody on a positive note. We're going to talk about the hope in doing this, in case you're like, great, it worked for them, but I don't know. And the good fruit that comes from walking through these steps. Quick question. There's a website I want to show people. It's familylife.com. Is this where they can contact you if they want to do a marriage thing in their church or get a hold of you in some other capacity? Is that the right place?
Yeah, they can go to familylife.com. Our podcast is Family Life Today. That's the show,
Yeah.
the radio show and the podcast. Or they can just email me, dave.wilson@familylife.com, dave.wilson@familylife.com. And my assistant, Debbie, sets up our schedule where we speak, and we do vertical marriage one-day conferences or Friday night, Saturday, all around the country.
So worth it. So worth it. And, well, that's my last question. Is it worth it? You've gone through a lot of the difficulty. You've helped other people walk through these types of things. What do you see on the other side of doing this hard work?
Well, Dave, I'll let you start this story where we started really seeing some fruit from this,
Which one?
of how you preached all day.
Oh, I mean, for you, Randy, I'd say yes to the couple that's
Yes.
lost hope. Yes, God still raises dead things back to life.
Mhm.
And if you think your marriage is dead, we thought ours was dead.
Hold on.
He can raise it to life, but you can't.
Mm.
And even if you get this book and do everything in the book, it won't work without the power of God and Jesus to do it.
Well, and one of the things, Randy, I'll just say, like, this showed me that this can really work. Dave came home tired after preaching all day, after being on the Lions sideline, and he got into bed and he said, "Man, I feel like I've been getting all this critique on my sermons." And generally, if he would have said that, here's what went through my mind, and I would have said it because I'm a verbal processor.
Mhm.
I thought in my mind, well, if you'd spend more time studying the word, your sermons would be way better. I almost said it, but I got in a habit of starting to say, God, should I say this? And so I asked that question, God, should I say this? No. My next question is, should I say anything, or is now the time? And this thought popped into my head. And I said, man, I can't imagine what it's like to be you. You have thousands of people depending on your walk with God. What a weighty thing that must be to carry.
Mm.
And then Dave pulled me over and he whispered in my ear, "You are my life."
Wow.
And that for me was like, okay, God, you can do something. It was that spark of hope, like keep going down this path because it brings life.
And man, that's the power women, wives you have. Somebody else says something good to your husband, he thinks that's nice, but they don't really know me. But when they know you know the good and the bad, and you speak life even to a man that
It's the
you know,
gospel.
it is powerful.
And, life in a marriage, that's where you get the peace. That's where you get the joy,
Yeah.
the enjoyment,
Yeah.
So good. All right. Thank you both. I appreciate both of your insight and your time talking about this today. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's great to be with you.
Appreciate all you guys out there watching. This is good. If you know somebody that could use a little life in their marriage, and you can gently hit the share button and say, hey, watch this. I think it'll help you. But do these. And Dave's exactly right. It's got to start with Jesus in your own life. But it can work. Appreciate you being here. Come back next time. We've got more for you here on Life Today Live.